topic
Can't wait. What is it?
is when should you intervene? When do you find it necessary to say, I need to step into a public situation and intervene into a private matter that's not yours?
Okay, so for instance, you're somewhere and something's happening. Should you decide to step in and say something?
Right. So classic thing, you watch Seinfeld.
Yes.
The very last episode of Seinfeld, or the last episodes, was about there was a guy got mugged.
Right.
And they watched.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything. And they got in trouble for it because they should have intervened. Right? So in 90s was different than today. When today do you see something, you're like, because now I feel like we're all looking through a pinhole.
True.
We're looking through this pinhole and we see what we think we know is going on, but we don't know what's going on.
Absolutely no idea. Also,
but you see what's going on.
You know what's happening in the moment, but you don't know the factors that cause that moment to get to that moment.
Do you live and let live?
Well, and you also don't know. People are more on edge now. Like things seem a little more. Everybody seems already ramped up before it starts. So if you're gonna intervene, like back then they didn't get involved in mugging. I can almost see people more getting their phone and recording than intervening. They don't want to be part. Don't want to be part of it.
Yeah, it's like
so here's an example. See if this kind of falls along that. I had gone through all the stomach problems. I couldn't eat anything.
Yeah.
Finally decided I could eat a hamburger. The first hamburger I probably had in like 2 or 3 months. Should have gone to Whataburger. Don't hate me. But I was right near In-N-Out. Go to In-N-Out. I go through the drive-thru, so I was going to eat in the car.
This is where like it was In-N-Out's fault.
It was In-N-Out's fault. I couldn't have lettuce.
Okay.
Right? So it was like I just need cheese, meat, the spread, and that's it. First hamburger I've had in 3 months. So I get it. I park, covered in lettuce. Well, I try to take the lettuce off, but it's stuck in the cheese.
Right.
There's a problem. So I go inside, and I'm being nice. I'm like, hey, I just came through the drive-thru, and I ordered no lettuce. And she's like, oh, sir, we'll take care of it. I said, no problem. Then the manager came over. What's the problem? I'm like, I just needed no lettuce, whatever. This guy standing here says, hey, MFer, just eat the effing sandwich.
No.
Yeah. So I just looked at him. I said, they're really good people. They're doing a great job. I just have reasons why. So I was like, and you know me, sometimes I will go.
He was getting on you to like just.
He was getting on me
lettuce?
Just take it and eat the lettuce. I'm like, he didn't know that for 3 months I have not had a burger. I have to be very careful about my diet. So in a way, he was intervening. I wasn't being mean though. I can understand if I was being
interjecting his opinion, like just don't be a sissy.
And it was
eat the lettuce
slightly under breath, but it was loud enough that I heard him and he knew I'd heard him. And then I addressed him directly, and then he got quiet. But I addressed him like, yeah, they do a great job. It's just they're fixing it for me. I can't eat the lettuce. So isn't that weird? But that always, now when I think about it, whatever's happening in that person's life, they may not have gotten to eat a hamburger for 3 months. Right?
So my situation was a little different. So back in maybe 96, I'm dating myself a little bit. I think I was just graduated from high school or close to it. And that really dates me. I put a timeline on like, I did a couple of years again.
Right.
So what had happened was I was standing in a parking lot that was across a farm road or 423 out here. It's like a 4-lane road, right?
Yeah.
Across the street, there's a like a duplex, right? And so I'm just standing there outside in this parking lot outside of a Little Caesars and just kind of minding my own business.
Right.
Completely minding my own business.
Okay.
And I see a car like speed up and hit into the driveway, and a guy gets out and just runs into the house. Door left open on the car.
Okay.
I know, it's like, that's interesting. That's all I think. Like, my ADHD is like anything will take my eyes off of whatever.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, there's a car. A guy gets out, runs in, and going, that's unique and different. Something you don't see every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember, I'm like 17, 18 years old.
Okay.
This time. I'm going, okay. So I'm just not thinking anything of it. And then, so my family is outside this. We're waiting on a pizza, most likely. It's been a long time.
Right. Okay.
Waiting on this pizza. And then all of a sudden, like, they're kind of talking. I'm just watching this scene. I don't have a phone to record. I'm just watching the scene. I see the guy come out holding a kid, like a duffel bag, right?
Okay.
Come out of the house. And
he's holding a kid like a duffel bag, or he's
like
holding,
under his arm.
Okay, so he has a
Kid's kicking, you
Okay.
know, like, and then this woman comes running out, and she's screaming. I don't know what they're saying.
Right. Okay.
Instinctively, my first thought was, I ran over.
Okay.
Ran all the way over there. And I mean, I ran across 4 lanes of traffic.
Right.
It's night, so it's not too traffic. But I run over there.
Okay.
I run across this little bitty parking lot that's right there. And then the guys, and of course, they're kind of fighting too, right? So I come up behind the guy, and I just push the guy, and he falls over.
Now, is he still holding the kid?
At this moment, no longer.
Okay.
So he dropped the kid. And so the guy hits his head against the wall of the house.
Okay.
And then he drops the kid. She grabs the kid. She goes inside. The guy stands up, and now I'm like, you know, I'm like I said, I'm like 140 pounds.
Yeah.
In 17, he stands up, and he's like, I'm looking up, like 6'4". I was like, hey, I was like, whoa. I said, relax, dude. And he's like, he goes, you don't know, and this, like, you're right, I don't know. But my instinctively was to assist.
Yeah.
Right, to go over there.
Right.
And I was like, listen, I don't know what's going on. But let's get some people that can mitigate this. And, and by that time, I had already been over there.
Let's slow it down enough so we can. Yeah.
Right. So then my parents and my,
like,
I mean, everybody, like, they're running after me. Like, what is going on? It's like, I just saw this. I thought the kid was getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
Right. Fast forward. I had to give a statement. Fast forward a year. Now I'm in a.
Because police did show up.
Right.
Yeah.
Police came. They did their whole thing, the investigation. I don't know what ended up. We just left, and I'm like, my adrenaline's going. A year later, I'm in court for 2 days, right? I'm a witness
over this
in a domestic dispute over this situation, and they have divorced. Actually, if I remember right, they were back together.
Okay.
They were in the hall, and they were like going to court over a situation that happened then, but they're back together.
But now they're kind of over it,
and they're having to go to court over it. Now I'm a witness to this thing, and I'm having to, because now, like, I guess the prosecutors are like, hey, this situation happened, blah, 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 all this stuff. So I just give my testimony of what I saw. And then knowing everything else that happened, I didn't see everything.
Right. Yeah.
The thing is, I didn't know who was right, who was wrong.
Yeah, he could have been.
And I told him I didn't care.
Taking the kid from a horrible environment, or vice versa. You don't know.
Was it looking back and going, should I have, like, that was a very dangerous situation when I've had my kids involved in that. Like, how did my dad like really react to this? Going, what?
How did your dad react? Like, was he like, hey?
My dad gets involved too.
Okay.
So
I'll be honest with you. If I was in that exact same situation, I was standing across the street, I would have. I don't know if I'd have shoved the guy into the house, but necessarily. But I would have. It's my natural instinct to get involved, to try to slow things down.
Right.
Just to like, okay, hold on.
Right.
Cooler heads prevail thing. So I would have done. I would have probably done the same thing.
But so, in a lot of situations we see in work environments, and you're in a leadership role,
right?
And I am not, but I have been in a leadership role, and I see that what people react to things, in conversations I've heard amongst teachers and different things, just different like conversations. When you're in a, like, I don't know, we call worker bee situation. Like, I go in, I clock in, I do my job, and I leave. A lot of opinions at the bottom. But in leadership, there's decisions made that roll down.
Yes.
That you don't see the whole picture. I think a lot of times we need to do is take an aerial view of what is going on. Does that make sense?
No, totally. Because I try to explain that to people. I'm like, you're right here, and you have a 5,000-foot elevation, and this decision makes total sense. But at 15,000 feet, there's a lot more around that you don't see, and then above that, at 50,000 feet. So it's really hard to make all this decision, knowing that sometimes those people aren't going to like that decision, because to them, what they can see, that doesn't make sense.
So how do you make those decisions to where everyone's happy?
I make the decisions based on what will make them happy in a long term, and then try to coach and mentor them through what might be a difficult time to get to where I think is going to be the happy, because I can't make you happy. So 2 of you are going to be unhappy with this decision. So my job is to know that if I make the decision, you have to trust me that I'm making it what's good for all of us.
Right.
And then try to.
So the key word is trust.
Trusting
leadership
and communication.
Helps,
yeah.
Right. So like, hey,
totally.
Understanding, and they say, hey, it helps when you have understanding employees, or understanding, maybe not just employees, but maybe children or relatives or friends.
But you
like,
don't often. I think I think people do things because this is my job, this is my boss, or whatever. So I don't know that it's harder to build that trust.
Right.
To me, though, communication is the only
So
way.
like in your situation where the guy had an opinion about your lettuce,
Yeah.
it was just like everyone wants to interject their opinion or have an opinion, but never a solution for what it is. And that
Yeah.
guy's reaction probably could have been,
He had to, of course, I probably reading it too big.
you know what? He probably
had
got
to
the
have
burger
come-
without the lettuce, and he was behind you in the drive-thru coming to
Right.
get his with lettuce.
Or he had something at work. Something had to have happened to that guy for him to get that ramped up when I'm handling it nicely and they're taking care of me. It wasn't we were yelling back and forth.
And it
about
really
lettuce.
nothing to do with him.
Nothing to do with him, and not even errors are part of work. So it wasn't like your situation that someone looked like they were kidnapping somebody. It'd have been like if he was over there changing a tire and you went over and kicked him in the back of the head. Why? Because that's just part of what was going on, right? So I'm like, well, my sandwiches. I'm not being mean. Everybody's being nice. So anyway, but I think that trust part, like you were just talking about, is communication. If you had communication of what was happening at that event, you could have made your decision better about to run over and get involved. And so to me, it all comes down to communicating. But most people don't communicate well. They're not going to share their private stuff that's going on. They're not going to share if they're hurting or sick. They're not going to share if they got in a fight at home. They'll just come and take it out on you.
Right.
And it's almost up to you to try to figure out why are you acting this way.
Well, we see it all the time, and someone's, in our business, that nerves and emotions will escalate very quickly. But the people that really, I think, that are the most valuable, and I don't know if they're compensated this way, the ones that can de-escalate a situation, opposed to like necessarily getting involved. And maybe it's like, hey, maybe this is a person that can help not pick a side.
Yeah.
Right. But just de-escalate.
I saw it happen to you. We were talking to a coach, and you were a little aggravated and ramped up about. I think you used, well, I want to be like Instagram famous or TikTok famous or have more success faster.
Yeah.
And that person, so you were a little bit aggravated because you've been doing the work, which we all do. Like we're doing this work. And then that question brought it back to something like, why? Why do you want that? And it was like, and that like completely like diffused everything. And then it was like, okay, this is why, and this is why I'm frustrated. And then you were able like to dissect how to get there without
the question was a bit accusatory.
It was accusatory. It was. I didn't like the way it came off because it came like, oh, you just want this. Like, no, I'm not trying to be famous. I'm just doing all this work, and I'm trying to get growth, and we're trying to teach other people to do all this. So we want to make sure we can do it, and it's not moving faster.
Well,
but the question did diffuse the anxiety that you had towards the situation.
Well, yeah,
I feel
like she understood what I was talking about.
Yeah,
because I think that a little bit of my goal was for shock value, and I wanted to get an honest, true answer.
Yes,
from a person that I believe that being like, well, I don't know if I believe this necessarily, but like if you look around, you like the TikTok famous people are fit a certain mold, right? It's like, why do we have coaches
because I said it in the video the other day, they're usually young, attractive, and you can tell that they're not self-conscious about it.
They don't have to overcome those things,
right?
So if you can have to say, why don't
that's why we're successful, because there's the normal Joes are trying to make.
Why can't we have the weekend warrior kind of not ugly, but he's definitely not sticking out in a crowd and like, this guy is somebody, I
always laugh. My whole life I've had to live off my personality. Now I got to figure out how to take my personality.
You got to face the radio
and do it for me.
So I was like, oh, everything's filmed now? I was like, I was just going to do a podcast.
Like you said, face for radio.
Yeah, so then you add in like, how do you overcome that if we only have pretty people teaching us about how to do it? And it's like, and so that again, like I'm attacking this person. It's like, hey, you're pretty and you're knowledgeable and you're a bit famous. It was easy growth for you because you popped it up. And she goes, well, that's accusatory. He goes, you just, because I'm pretty, you think I'm famous? It took away from the work she put.
Right.
But my question wasn't about taking away her work, because I know she works hard, right?
Absolutely not. It's just,
I wanted a fastball at her. I wanted her to see what she said, and she was pop.
Yeah, she was right.
I was like, and that's what put me in that place.
There is, I think every race is staggered. Every race has people starting at different things.
Yeah.
And no matter how much hard work they put into it, people that already look amazing on video, they do start a little further ahead than us.
We all get to
But
start
I
somewhere.
sent you that guy the other day. Did you see the one where he's just this? Normal's probably a compliment. It was an awkward. It was an awkward, weird,
Yeah.
and he shot it kind of good though, and it was good. I don't know if you saw how do you have to, and he was talking about real estate and doing video, and I think he
Yeah.
wants to help people coach and do video, and he would be the perfect for what we're talking about because it's like, okay,
Well, the thing is, like,
you're not starting off,
yeah, okay,
you know,
so
no
think about
cover of GQ or anything like that.
it. If he can do it, I can do it.
This guy makes it right.
So
And I want him to. All the power to him. So I'm like, that's
Yeah.
amazing. But it's like,
so what
okay.
was it like if you look? If we talk to people all the time, like, you would do really good on like social media videos, or you'd be really good with a YouTube channel because you already fit the mold,
Yes.
right, of what someone would be on video. And it's like, but they don't want it. It's like, so maybe they wouldn't be good because they don't have the I don't know, maybe what it takes to, you know, they don't want to be on camera or something like that. But you always feel like they would be good on it. If they could just be a TV personality, they'd be really good.
I have an actress from Australia, and she was in our work from home show, and you know, very attractive, well spoken, funny. And I was like, you should do some car videos, especially at that time. This has been a few years ago. Like that was exploding. She's like, I don't know anything about cars. I'm like, okay, well, but can you go look at cars or just film cars? Or, nah, not really. And I was like, I was frustrated. I would get nothing out of it, but I was like, I think I could help you.
Yeah.
But then that might also be terrible of me to just be like, well, because
you're pretty, you
you're
should
pretty,
be good.
you should be, and that's not true.
No.
I just knew from her acting and working with her and what she was able to do. It was like, oh, you could plug in almost on any. You do great.
Hey, but, you're ugly. You're probably a really good mechanic.
Yeah, if you would get behind the camera,
you'd probably be really good
I've
at it.
I've had plenty of people tell me to get behind the camera, or they line up a picture and they leave me off to the side.
Yeah, I don't. It's just one of those things that just looking at perspective and from like where, and there's a lot. I mean, we all have stories where we've run into situations. I just think the most valuable people get involved.
Yeah,
I think the best thing is like, hey, if
I don't recommend it.
When you get involved, you find yourself in court.
Yeah, you're in court.
So it's almost like a deterrent, right? It's like
I was on 3 911 calls in one summer in like 2004. I saw 4 car accidents, and then I had to like be called by different people after that.
I would have to question.
Well, then I was
lot of this, like, were you?
Then I wanted to write a movie that was like about a person that just wanted to be the center of attention.
What's that say? If the whole world stinks, check the bottom of your shoe.
Did I tell you by the last? We were in San Antonio. Angie and I were, and this car sideswiped. Another car went off, and there for a second, I was like, "Are they okay?" Because I don't know if I want to.
That's
another 911 call.
Being involved, you end up being a bit of a deterrent. It's like, I don't want to be that because it is consuming of that, right? And it's like, but at the same time, I think humans, like our nature is to be involved and help.
Yeah.
Like we've had this topic on another episode where when we're in like younger grade and when no one writes on, I want to be an IT engineer. They want to be a firefighter. Why?
Right.
Because we want to help people.
Yep.
Right. And it's all of those things that we do when we want to grow up are usually things to help other people be better. Right. And so why do we do this? I think it's just part of our human nature is to help others. But then people get involved in that back end and we all have to like, now I got to go be involved here.
I think we get conditioned to what it means to be involved. And I think that's where people kind of pull away.
Yeah. Well, now I'd rather film it.
Because you to go get involved again after having to go sit in court for 2 days, well, that really shows you have a heart for that. If you didn't really have a heart for that, that'd have been the one time you ever got involved.
What brought this topic up was the other night. We were in a school parking lot waiting for my daughter to get out, and this kid was kind of just racing around the parking lot in his car. And then there's kids coming out of the school, and it's at night, and you can't see everything. He already almost hit one kid, and they're just goofing around with cars, and like they are not toys, right? And it's like, I understand your kids and whatever, but like here the difference is between when I was a kid and did it and now is I have a kid that's gonna be walking out here in a minute.
Yeah.
And so, And so I was like, if he comes back around, I'm just gonna pull this door. I was like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. And it's like, you know what? At this point, as a parent, and I am now involved because now it's affecting the outcome of my life. Because if my daughter gets hurt, that's gonna be a whole nother story.
Yep.
So, but do I get involved? It's like, here's the thing. In psychology, in college, they said, would you rather choke in a crowded mall or sparsely populated park? Where would you rather choke?
It sounds stupid, but I think in the sparsely populated park, you actually get help. I think
Right.
the mob mentality of watching would kick in at the mall.
Right. And even so today, than 20 years ago,
Yeah.
without social media. So
Today
now,
you would be filmed while you choked and no
while
one
you
helped you.
choked. And it's like, well, someone's going to, surely there's a nurse or a doctor here that can help, right? I've had to perform CPR on somebody. I was forced into involvement into that situation. And it wasn't a good one.
Yeah.
And so in this situation, it was traumatic, right? And so if I fast forward to this and like, if I see somebody in a mall that needs CPR, I'm probably gonna have some PTSD over this. Be like,
Absolutely.
surely someone else here knows
Yeah.
how to do this better than me.
Yeah, it's been a
Right.
while.
So I'll probably just kind of lean towards the other. But if I'm in a park, I'm going, it's me.
Yeah.
I've done this before, so I'm just gonna do it.
Agreed.
And so when you get involved in this necessity,
you're putting yourself in harm's way. I've helped many car accidents where people selfishly just tried to run us over to get around because we were inconveniencing them while we're trying to render aid to somebody else. So I'm like, you're going to have long-term effects whether you get ran over or PTSD or whatever.
I think at the end of the thing is you get involved regardless. The consequences are going to be there regardless, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think in my situation, if something was happening on the street or in public, my brain as an adult goes into assessing the situation, not of like the consequences. I'm going, try to figure it out, then de-escalate. I'm not going to, if a guy's fighting another guy, I'm not joining a team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Here, I'll help you beat him up. That guy looked like he probably shouldn't have been fighting you.
Yeah. That's
right. Like, I know.
I'm with that one.
So, but it de-escalating, like, there was a time where I was in a mall and there was a guy that tried to kidnap our daughter when she was like 4, right?
Crazy.
Ran out of the toy store and I'm chasing him. Not one person stopped him. I'm chasing a guy. It's not because he's not running for me for his life. But no one stopped him and stopped me.
Right. And you can, like in that one, they needed to, because that was a horrible situation. But it goes back to if you don't know what's happening in the situation, like, do you detain someone? What if you detained him and you were trying to kill him? So it's
So it's like,
what if you were the bad guy chasing him and this guy's, you don't know?
Yeah. Yeah, there was now
you just film it and that way you have evidence.
It's just have a body cam. So I don't. It's I guess maybe there's a moral dilemma here, but like if someone is in life-threatening situation, obviously call 911.
Yeah,
is the first thing. It's like, hey, get authorities here, get security, get somebody, because we are not the end of. There's a thing that's like I'm not the police of things, and that's not my job.
Yep. And you may not be equipped to handle this.
I'm not equipped. But if those that are equipped are very valuable people. I would say that I've seen people de-escalate situations, police officers, off-duty police officers, and I know sometimes I see videos of that.
Fireman in a car accident that if it hadn't been for him, someone wouldn't have made it. Even though we were all trying, we were not equipped to figure out how to fix it.
There's videos that go around. I see them viral about like they're kind of like pick on cops in their training, and it's like they're doing this on purpose. And I was like, one day, even though whatever you do, that cop will still protect you in the end.
Yeah.
I said, if you're in a situation, he is not going to decide that person doesn't deserve my help because they were picking on me, right? But they're going to still help you. And I know there's dirty cops, but the situation is like that person is going to be trained on a de-escalation situation that's going to prevent something. So that person trained in that. Maybe they should be better and trained. And I
do love like fights. There's better equipped people to jump in and stop a fight. And halftime, it's like a really small mom.
Yeah.
That jumps in.
Everybody listens to the mom.
It's like, okay, separate, guys. It's kind of funny. So
my 3 children and myself are all afraid of my wife. I'm just when it goes down. I'm saying when it goes down to it, I'm like,
they're good, healthy fears. You're afraid of fires, you don't burn yourself. And be afraid of your wife because life was much better.
Yeah, I said we know how this ends. I would tell you.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, I had this conversation at lunch today about like some guys. I said, I never ended up in juvenile detention or jail or anything like that as a kid. But I remember I said there were a lot of situations that probably should have put me there. But since we grew up in a small town, I said the reason we didn't, because the police officers knew that my parents had swifter judgment on us than any legal system.
We will not be able to punish them as much here as they're going to.
Yeah, I said, yeah, they'll probably end in the system. It'll take 2 or 3 years. I have to go to court over it, do all this stuff. I said, or give them to their parents, and their parents are way worse than that.
It's super nice when you know you have parents like that, as opposed to the ones.
Oh yeah, we were our parents took care of business.
Yep.
And we always made sure we weighed the pros and cons. If we did something, we knew like it was worth it.
Yeah, I didn't cross my mom. That was not going to happen.
Nope. And always the mom, right?
Yeah.
So I was. It was both my parents. So they both worked, right? So both our parents worked. Sometimes they worked 2 jobs. This is the 80s.
Yeah.
And so I remember there's 5 of us, and sometimes we self-governed. Right? Like
we'll have to do another video because you have some stories about self-governing.
Self-governing. And it was a hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
And so like every week was a little different. Who ended up on top? Who's in charge this week? Until someone got toppled over. So they're like
fight of the fittest.
I'll tell you some real estate stories, but when we would move, talk about getting involved. The neighbors never really got involved, did they? They hear a bunch of noise and racket.
No, that's right. They're good. They knew the parents were going to take care of it.
They're like, no, it's normal. The Sanders kids is normal.
They're working it out.
So cool.